So hi, Dani. It's so good to see you. I know you have a day off
Yes,
where you're running around, but next week it's going to be a really busy week. I probably should start with just congratulations. You're the new
thank
superintendent
you.
of Roosevelt School District. How are you feeling?
Thank you. I'm very excited. I also feel just so grateful to our school board for considering me and having faith in my leadership. So I'm just very, very excited to help and lead equity for South Phoenix.
That's fantastic. And I know, the number of women getting into the superintendency is something that we all continue to talk about nationally.
Mhm.
There's 27% of the nation's district superintendents are women, and yet 80+% of teachers are women. So we know there's a lot of gatekeeping happening there. I'm wondering what your experience was like in pursuing the superintendency. Was it positive? How did that go?
Yeah.
Were there any delays? What was that like for you?
I think that when I started my career, I had the fortune of having some very strong leaders look at me and support me in my leadership journey. And yeah, as I got a little bit older and got more committed in establishing a family and having that responsibility as well, um, I imposed a lot of those stops along the way on myself because I was trying to fulfill all parts of my life, right? And sometimes I think that even in anticipation of some of those things happening, I slowed down a little bit. If I could go back, I probably wouldn't have slowed myself down until the time came where I had to slow down. But as I look back on, I paused my career aspirations once in order to move closer to my husband and his children. If I were to do that again, if I had the opportunity again, I would have probably could have done the same thing. It did pause me from moving on to the next step, that I was able to gain something else in my life that I wouldn't trade. And then I paused again when I had to take care of my mom. I had the opportunity to take care of my mom before she passed away, and that there's no way I would ever have changed changed that path. Though I think that as women, we take that on, especially as Latinas, we take that on as part of what makes us whole, right? Um, I'm at a gas station and someone just pulled up here. So as a woman, as a Latina, we take that on as part of what makes us whole. But I do notice that, some of my peers, my male peers, maybe they haven't had to stop, or even my brothers, they didn't have to stop their career to care for my mom. Or they maybe chose not to, right? Because it wasn't forced on me. I wanted to do that for her.
And I appreciate your sharing that because I think as women, it's important to share our stories about the intentional decisions we make
Mhm,
to care for ourselves and the people we love very
mhm.
intentionally and putting that balance into our career pathway. We're just excited, right, collectively to
Yes.
have Dr. Portillo join
Thank
the
you.
superintendent rank and join a body of peer women who are doing some tremendous work in this nation and are role models for other young girls about the fact that the CEOC is accessible for
Mhm,
women and
mhm.
women of color. And
Yes.
so we are very proud of you and we congratulate
Thank
you
you.
on that. So I
Thank you.
know you and I had a chance recently through the Voice for Equity Policy
Mhm.
Academy to have some time and space with other women to interact around policy knowledge and voice. And I'd love to hear from you. How do you make sure that you're intentionally showing up at the policy table as a person of color, as a woman, as a passionate advocate for equity?
Thank you. Thank you for that question. So, yes, what one of the things that I do is I make sure that I stay connected with my purpose, my why, so that I continuously feel that fire and I don't get disconnected with why I decided to pursue education and the superintendency. So I often, if I feel a little bogged down with all of the nuances of the everyday work, and then also some of the challenges of hitting up obstacles, people that maybe don't agree with the same passion that we have. I take a drive through the community that I serve, and I go and I park in the parking lot at the ranch market, or I take a drive to the local park and just park there, and observing the community around me, and observing the joys and then also the hardships that they experience every day, that unfortunately I don't have to experience every day, reconnects me with that passion, right? Because as we continue to grow in our profession, we don't always have the same hardships that they experience firsthand anymore. And it's really important to keep rooted for that. So that's one of the things that I do to make sure that my passion is real and authentic. And then also I'm selective with the what my fights are, what my major fights are, so that we're trying to reach our goal with the least amount of fights necessary, but that we're winning all of those battles. Yeah, so I educate myself. I try to see the perspective from the other side, and before I even interact with them, try to anticipate what might be some of the concerns that they have, and what am I willing to bring to the negotiation table when we're establishing these policies, so that I'm not blindsided when something maybe is proposed by them. I've already considered how I might respond to their position, right? And the only way to really do that is to have enough integrity to not only be committed to us, but to what we believe, but really what we want the outcome to be. And knowing that giving the other side a win isn't necessarily giving up on what we want the outcome to be, right? So we have to be bigger. It's not about us. It's about what we want the outcome to be for our kids, but for us as equity.
I love the way you couch that all within the context of community and physically being present, going out in the car to again remind ourselves, public education belongs to the people of the community. And I love that example that you give about how you're living that both at the policy table, but just in being present in community. So you have so much wealth of experiences, both at the personal level and in terms of the workplace in policy work that you bring to the superintendency. Tell me about your background. We would love to share a little bit about your experience across two nations and coming in with your family into the United States. And tell us a little about that.
Yeah. So I'm from Honduras, San Pedro, and my family is from Lima, which is a smaller town near San Pedro. San Pedro is a big industrial city, and that's where I grew up. We were not people that originated from a lot of wealth. So I always saw my parents working very hard when I was a child in Honduras. And then once we immigrated to the US, the same, right? So I've always seen them working very, very hard. And I understood that in order to be able to move forward, that hard work is definitely an element of that. So I would say that that growing up poor in Honduras, at least, was different from the US because we were poor, but we had access to a lot of natural beauty and a lot of very healthy foods. It was more expensive for us to go out and get foods that were processed or from fast food restaurants. And then arriving in Phoenix, specifically where I grew up, it's an area that's very impoverished. And people here, they don't have the abundance of water or rain to be able to have a lot of trees in their yards or grass or anything like that. So I would say that what I experienced as a poor person in Honduras was quite the opposite here, because we didn't have the natural beauty around us, and there was a lot of graffiti and broken glass and all of that, and maybe more access to drugs. It was just really different in that sense. And also the nutrition, right? Having access to healthy foods is actually not as common in impoverished areas as in our countries. It's maybe a little bit backwards, right? Because people can't afford to go to restaurants as much. So that I think was very was a stark contrast. Also in Honduras, we had a lot of family everywhere, and here we didn't. It was just us, my brothers, and my dad and mom and I, and we became very, very close growing up, more so than maybe some of the people in my other country who are in my other country, yeah, in my home country, who are more connected to the extended family, right? So we are a little less connected in that sense. But yeah, coming to the U.S., I went to our public schools, and I had excellent experiences, and I had some difficult experiences. I learned from both of them, especially now being in the field, right? Um, I did have the opportunity to serve, and I would recommend to anyone pursuing the superintendency to consider serving at different age groups. So I served as a principal at the elementary system, primary, elementary, and then also at the high school system. And when you have the opportunity to see the whole perspective, even I got a chance to not lead, but taught classes at the university system. When you see the whole gamut from pre-K 3-year-olds all the way through your 22-year-old, entering their first year in grad school, maybe, you see a more complete picture of what we're trying to produce, and what are the obstacles for kids like us, right? Or not necessarily only like kids like us, but kids that also experience hardship. So I would say my experience being from another country connects me to people who have similar experiences than I have, but it also connects me to those that I lead who have experienced other obstacles in life or other adversities, not necessarily exactly like my own, but the idea that they have adversities and have had something that is maybe holding them back connects me to a lot of those that I lead, not only Latinos.
And we're a global society, right? And we're preparing students to be part of this
Mhm.
global society. And so your
Exactly.
breadth of experiences is just tremendous, and is a
Thank you.
value add in public education.
Thank
So
you.
Dr. Dani Portillo,
Mhm.
I am so excited about the new role you're taking on and
Thank you.
continued leadership that you're engaged with. And really thank you for serving the
Thank
children
you.
and youth of our nation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm absolutely excited about doing this. I'm excited about being able to open up opportunities for others as well and support them in their pursuits of accomplishing their purpose. And if their purpose is to lead formally in schools in the roles of principals or as assistant soups or superintendents, then I am very passionate about helping them reach that goal. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.